Hello and welcome to Just One More Watch. Welcome to another installment of the What's in the Watch Roll series. These are my favourite videos because they are directly associated with travel and holidays. And indeed, the Jonwas are packing our bags for a bit of an Easter road trip this year. Jonwa Jr. is at a good age for car travel. He pretty much falls asleep the instant I turn the ignition. And my wife and I have been on some really enjoyable country road trips over the last year or so, seeing bits of Australia that we haven't visited before, and believe me, there's enough of it to see. I even got Big Lex, my beloved 18-year-old car, serviced and washed, so he's ready for the journey as well. We're off to Jindabyne in the Snowy Mountains, home to Australia's highest peak, Mount Kosciuszko, and its most famous skiing resorts. Yes, there is skiing in Australia, Thredbo and Perisher. One night outside Canberra on the way there and one night on the south coast near Batemans Bay on the way back. So roughly 1,000 kilometres, 600 miles in total. Now, I've done a few big, long car journeys in Australia, especially over the last couple of years, and I know exactly the type of watch that I like to wear while driving. Or at least I know exactly the type of watch I don't like to wear while driving. I don't like to wear a big, heavy, chunky watch. You know, you're sitting like this for hours and hours at a time. A heavy, chunky watch ends up sliding around and digging into your arm. Now that might sound a bit soft, but then again, I might be a bit soft. So I thought for a bit of fun today, I would take my 4 lightest automatics with me, regardless of what they actually were. A weight-based horological lucky dip then. To be honest, I've got a fair idea of 2 of them, but I've no idea what else I might end up with. Let's flip the camera and get out the scales. Okay, so what's in the watch roll today? As usual, 4 watches, 3 in the roll itself and 1 will be taken on the wrist. Now, I'm not going to kind of tease you opening the box here today. It is all about the weight, so let's get out the scales. So the first and heaviest watch that I'll be taking with me, weighing in at a positively beefy 83 grams, is my Dekla Turbulens Flieger with the Channel logo printed on the dial. Remember this one, I made the video why I'll never sell this watch. The reason why was because I got Dekla to custom print the Channel logo on the dial, and here we are 2 years later, it's still in my collection, whereas many others have fallen by the wayside and been flipped. So watch number 1 then is a Flieger. Who knew a Flieger would be one of the lightest watches I have in my collection? Stainless steel, 40-20, 40mm diameter, 20mm lug width. This one is on a genuine Marine Nationale paratrooper strap that glows in the dark. That center strip glows in the dark. Actually a pretty practical watch all round this one. ETA 2824, screw down crown, lovely piece of sapphire crystal, very legible with that white handset. The red second hand. This is their Turbulens model. Dekla are a small German manufacturer specializing in Fliegers and other kind of deck watches. I'll leave a link to their website in the description of the video. These used to be around $600 with a bit of custom dial printing. They obviously take some time to get printing on the dial, but if you're a flipper and if you need something to convince you to hang on to a watch, perhaps that's it. I think I've actually only got 2 or 3 of these paratrooper MN style straps. Really, I should like this style of strap. I should wear it more often because the watch just sits exactly where you leave it. Obviously you can adjust it tighter or looser, but yeah, a good looking watch and one that I can definitely see being comfortable on my drive. Probably fairly practical to wear around it also. Okay, watch number 2, 66 grams now. We're really getting into the weight weenie territory. This was one that I expected to be on today's selection. It is my Formex Essence Leggera 41 in carbon fibre, no less. So the Formex is a more recent pickup than the Dekla. I got it at the end of last year and I reviewed it at the beginning of this year. I have had an Essence Leggera in my collection for some time though. I had the 43mm, the older model with a forged carbon dial. This time around I opted for the smaller 41 with this white dial, and I'm really glad I did. Incredibly comfortable on this rubber strap. It has a patented case suspension system, not that you really need it because there's enough give in the strap. This is the boon though, a kind of ratcheting deployant clasp, very nice indeed, combined with that rubber strap. Weight under 70 grams, it is one of the most comfortable, if not the most comfortable watch I have ever had the pleasure of wearing. And clearly, as comfort and wearability are my only priorities with the watches I'm taking this trip, I'm delighted that the Formex is one of the four. Super light and super adjustable. Not super cheap though, it's the most expensive watch that's coming with me. These come in at around £2,000. Formex did me a bit of a deal on it when I bought it last year. You get a heap of specs for your money though. You get decent lume, chronometer certified, zirconium oxide bezel and crown carbon case, titanium movement holder and a couple of patents. So if you're in the market for something a bit different, something light, super comfortable, yeah, it's probably worth the cash if you're going to keep it long term. Alright, watch number 3, weighing a whole 2 grams less than watch number 2, the Formex. It's my Seiko Presage Irish Coffee. One of my most recent pickups. I only reviewed this one maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago. The video did very well. Far better than I was expecting it to. I guess everyone loves a Seiko, especially when the Seiko is as pretty as this one. That is just beautiful. You can see the kind of striations on the dial here. If you want to see more of this one, click on the link at the end. I'll leave the full video review there. It is just a gorgeous looking piece. I have kind of burned through a number of Presage over the years. This one I think is a keeper for me. It is stunning. Yes, I must admit I was rather pleased when this one made the grade on the scales and I realised that it was going to be coming with me. Any excuse to wear this lovely little watch more is a good excuse as far as I'm concerned. Now, as you can see here, I rotated the Seiko specific deployant. It's now the wrong way around in Seiko land, but the right way around in everyone else land. I just can't cope with the tailpiece pointing at me. It has to point the other way. Now, I am sure that many of you have many of this style of watch, you know, slightly smaller, slightly lighter, slightly dressier and on leather in your collections. I just don't. When I was going through my collection, looking for watches, looking for the kind of 10 that I thought were going to be lightest, I had so many divers either on bracelets or on rubber straps, and I've got so many Gadas on bracelets as well. I don't really own too many of this style of watch. Like I said, another reason why this one is going to be a keeper. But look at this, watch number 4, by far and away the lightest automatic that I own, coming in at 40 grams. That is ridiculous. Now, I did say I would take my 4 lightest watches regardless of what they were. That means I'm taking my Seiko Jellyfish mod. So I'm taking my Formex at about $2,000. I'm also taking this homemade Seiko mod costing $25. Yeah, I saw this jellyfish case on Instagram, had to have it, bought it, and put the innards of an old AliExpress watch. In all honesty, that's not actually a Seiko. It was a kind of Seiko Mariner thing when it arrived. But the dial, the hands, the colour match date wheel, the Seiko NH35, all too good to waste really, so I popped it into this case. Geneva blue Horween strap. Little did I know that it would be the lightest automatic in my collection by some margin at 40 grams. It is the flimsiest watch case in my collection by some margin as well. That bezel is just ridiculous. Yeah, the whole thing definitely light and plasticky feeling, but definitely reflects that on the scales. Remember this, the Omega Aquaterra sports model they released in 2019 in titanium, coming in at $48,600, weighing a frankly lardy 55 grams. Pathetic. You don't need to spend big bucks on an Omega if you want a super light auto. You just need to find yourself an old Seiko Movement and get one of these cases. I reckon I could shave another 3 or 4 grams at least if I opted for a Perlon. An automatic watch in the low 30s, mid to low 30 grams. That would be ridiculous. Look, I may not be able to feel this one on wrist when I'm driving to the snowy mountains, but I'll certainly hear it. It's kind of flimsy, it's a bit rattly, and you can feel and hear the Seiko rotor spinning away inside that really rattly case. But hey, 40 grams, what do you expect? So there you have it, a rather unusual selection of watches. It's the only time these 4 have ever been on my bench at the same time, that's for sure. And I guess that's what happens when you take a cross-section of your collection based on one single random parameter. So what did I end up with then? I ended up with a stainless steel Flieger on a Marine Nationale. I ended up with a carbon fibre sports watch on rubber, gorgeous dress watch on leather, and a plasticky dive thing that you would not want to dive with on a piece of Horween. A rather unusual and eclectic selection. all having one thing in common: they don't weigh much at all. While you're here, why not watch a couple of the individual reviews of these four? Thanks for watching this one. Play nice in the comments while I'm away. I'll see you all in a future video, I hope.